Hey guys, this is Seth here with I wouldn't say a brief video, but a video that isn't what you probably expected. Reason being is, well, I got a busy day right now, so I can't really record what I'm supposed to record as part of the schedule. So today's videos will have to wait until tomorrow, along with, where I'll put them up along with Board Game Online. So you'll be getting 3 videos tomorrow, more than likely. But the main reason why I wanted to put this video up is because it's a big announcement, namely because at last there has been enough information about E3 this year that I can finally say, shout it out, that this is going to happen and this is when it's going to happen. But I'm proud to announce that for the 3rd year in a row, Sonic Paradox will be hosting its annual E3 coverage. Now, as I'm adjusting my headphones again, of course, yours truly is going to be doing the hosting, going to be covering all the stuff in the next thing. Now, the catch is that it won't be as many days as before. You guys may recall in the past 2 years, if you were around for E3 2011 coverage, and even to E3 2012 coverage, you'll know that I tended to do a lot of coverage. I think almost a month of it. I believe I started about late May last year and went for, I think, 2 weeks or so. Somewhere in there, 2.5 weeks or so, something like that. And it went pretty crazy. Half the time, there wasn't even any trailers up. There wasn't anything to talk about for half that time. So there really wasn't any point to go on and on about it. So, yeah. But before I continue, I forgot to mention why today's videos are going to be done tomorrow. It's because I have company expecting, if you could say that, more TV troubles. And today's the day company's supposed to come back and grab it to repair it again. So I don't want to have them show right in the middle of a video, so it's better to be safe than sorry and just wait until tomorrow. But anyway, it's been a rather, but it's going to be a rather interesting day, or week, but I didn't want to overdo it again like I did with the coverage these past 2 years, so I figured I figured that, it's a rather I honestly don't feel like it's necessary, to have so many days where I'm not doing anything. So what I'm gonna do is, what I decided is that I was gonna do it all during the span of 1 week, technically 8 days, and focus all the coverage on just that 1 week. Because after that, before then it's pointless, afterwards it's pointless. So it's during that week that I will be focusing all of the E3 coverage. That doesn't mean, though, that there's going to be absolutely a meager amount of coverage. No, there's actually going to be quite a bit of it. 46 hours of E3 coverage. It's going to start at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's 10 o'clock p.m. UK time on June 7th. June 7th is going to be the first day of E3 coverage this year. That's going to run all the way through until the 14th, non-stop. There'll be coverage daily until the 14th, and then 2 days later there'll be another bit of E3 coverage, but mostly I'll get to that. So, the exact days of E3, the exact times for each day: June 7th, 5 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern will be the first day, of the E3 coverage. I picked a few days before E3, the conferences begin, because that's when all the materials start up. That's going to be the day, I'm going to be spending probably that day and the 8th just going through the videos that have already gone up. By then, all the sites will probably be in E3 mode. So, in other words, I'll be a bit late, but at the same time, despite the fact that, it's, but, it's going to be easier to talk about stuff prior to E3 because I only have like a few days. It won't be that difficult to sort that out. Unlike before, where I would constantly try to think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So the 7th will be the first half, I guess, of seeing trailers and videos, stuff coming out. That'll be 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, I'm not going to 9 p.m. Eastern until the next day, simply because it's not going to be. It'll be Friday, so I'm going to be doing more than likely a podcast, being part of a podcast on that day. So I don't want to go past 8 p.m. on that day. Excuse me. However, on the 8th, when there's no podcast I'm going to be doing, and it's going to be a Saturday, easily 9 p.m. Eastern, boom. I can tell you this right now. Both of those days, as I said, will be just catching up on videos, checking out all the sites, And I think in pretty soon I am going to start bookmarking E3 pages for this year, but that won't be immediately. So, I should also know that if Konami does another pre-E3 conference like they did last year and the year before that, where it was in the first few days of the month, it's it's just it'll be something I have to sort out over time. By the way, I apologize for the delays in silence. That kind of happens when you're trying to think about what you're gonna do here. I had a best way to put things, but no, it's not really going to be. I'm not gonna go for 6 hours, something like that. I'm gonna go for 3-4 hours minimum. They'll all be later in the day where I know I should be at least around the point where I can get up, but I don't know for sure. But in any case, I will say this much right now. I highly suggest not waiting like at noon or so on those days, because I'm not going to be broadcasting at noon. But I can tell you this much right now. Expect some I'm going to be establishing E3, what's going on with E3 itself, catching up on what has been going on since the start of the month, etc., etc. Basically, it's going to be to kick things off. That'll be the June 7th and 8th. As I said, June 7th's coverage will be 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. June 8th's will be 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, on June 9th, the day before all the conferences are supposed to take place, which I'm going to get to in a moment, on June 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be doing a pre-E3 Sonic News Show special. There's not going to be any, it's going to be just pre-E3. It's going to be E3 predictions. It's going to be, what to expect from, like, what I feel will be happening from, all the respective companies. It'll be E3 retrospective, a pre-E3 retrospective on Nintendo, a pre-E3 retrospective on Sony, a pre-E3 retrospective on Microsoft, on EA, on Ubisoft, and of course for Sega. That's all the companies I'm going to be doing, stuff for. As I should note, there's going to be two consoles being shown off at E3 this year. Sony's got their PS4, and it's widely expected that Microsoft is going to be showing off their successor to the Xbox, especially considering on May 21st they'll be doing a special stream, which I'm going to be covering as well. The exact times for that I will be unveiling soon, not right now though. Probably within the next week or two. But it'll be a special Sonic News Show detailing the predictions on all the companies, their current stance right now on what they need to do. Not only what I expect them to do, but what they need to do to win E3. Basically, it's what the lowdown on what to expect, and what, predictions, grading, all this next thing, pretty much. It'll be that pre-E3 show hype. Now, on June 10th is going to be the main day. That's going to be the day where there's going to be the most coverage. That's going to be the day where there's the most news. That is the main event. I'd say June 10th. If there's one day I would suggest tuning in. If you only had to pick one day to tune in for the E3 coverage, it would be June 10th, because June 10th is conference day, and that's when pretty much all the conferences are going to be taking place. So June 10th will be, live streaming in all the conferences, analysis of them, etc., etc. Pretty much what you saw last year. If you saw last year's E3 coverage during conference day, the two conference days. But this time there's only going to be one conference day, because remember, Nintendo is not doing an overall E3 conference this year. They're doing little small events at the convention. If they do a Nintendo Direct, that'll be nice, but I would not expect a whole lot from Nintendo in terms of conferences, or even briefings, or really much of anything like a conference, so to speak. But there will be that. As for the exact conferences, they will be taking place, as I said, on June 10th, but the course of the conferences, that is going to be rather weird, because, as I said, the bulk of the conferences are not going to be taking place, within the span of 2 days. They're all going to be happening within one day, within mere hours of each other. Microsoft is going to be first. They'll be holding their conference at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the UK. That is 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time on the West Coast. As for what Microsoft will be doing, I don't know. But whether it's anything huge, anything could happen in Microsoft's conference at this point, because as I said, they have a console they're more than likely going to be showing off. EA will be following 4 hours later. 3.5 hours later to be exact. EA's conference is supposed to be at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Time. That's on June 10th. That's 9 p.m. UK time, and I believe 11 a.m. Pacific time, West Coast. No, that's 1 p.m. Pacific time. I'm thinking 5 hours behind. No, it's 1 p.m. Pacific time. That's for EA. 2 hours later, at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 11 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Pacific time, will be Ubisoft's conference. Expect Ubisoft to have a weird-ass conference again this year. I wouldn't be surprised. They've done it for the last 2-3 years, so... And then, to round it all off, at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time, that is 2 a.m. UK time, 6 p.m. Pacific time, will be Sony's conference. They have a PS4 to show off. So, you know, that'll be another must-see. But that's the span of 4 conferences. So, what about the exact times for the coverage itself? It'll be taking place from 9 a.m. on June 10th to 1 a.m. on June 11th, because as I said, there's not just a matter of, you know, the conferences, but also want to get, you know, the hyping up between the conferences, and also what'll happen, you know, because Sony's conference will more than likely be going for about 2 hours or so, 2-3 hours, somewhere around there. So I honestly wouldn't consider these times final yet, but if there are changes in times, you know, stay tuned, because I will be, especially on Twitter and on Sonic Paradox forums, because I will be, you know, giving updates the times if necessary. But for now, I don't think there's gonna be too much of a time change. But, you know, with that in mind, with it's going to be a big day. That's a good, I do believe, about 15, 16 hours of coverage. Whether, you know, it's, you know, it's going to be, you know, the big day, you know, and then of course for the next 3 days, June 11th, 12th, and 13th will be E3 itself. You know, when the expo opens up and everyone's able to play demo the games and this thing and next thing, all 3 of those days will be taking place from noon to 6 p.m. Eastern. You know, as I stated, I should state, if you want to get the UK times, just add 5 hours to the time frames I've been listing. If you want to get the times for the west coast of the US, Western time, Pacific time, subtract 3 hours from the time frames I've been listing. But with that in mind, after conference day, it's not gonna be a subsiding per se, but I think most of the E3 hype will be, you know, pulled back, because most of the news will already be known by then. You know, we'll know pretty much almost the absolute lowdown, but not quite, because there may still be some news and announcements during E3 itself. Because I'm cracking my knuckles to get them going, but It will be the latest trailers, demos, videos. Note that none of the videos I'll be showing are going. None of the coverage will be saved on the stream, and whether there'll be, I doubt there will be any highlights put up, because in this case, there won't be much time for, we'll be spending more time playing videos and stuff, really, than just downright talking. So, at least as far as I know. So I would not expect any E3 highlights like last year, where I put up the spider moment, the spider monologue moment. But it'll be interesting, to see what happens during E3 itself. Because as I said, things may happen, that could potentially be news breaking. Sega has been very, very quiet this year. So if there's going to be one day where they're going to come out in the open, one time they're going to come out in the open for this year for Sonic and their games, it's going to be during E3. If they don't announce any new games within this month, they're definitely going to announce it at E3. Just the fact that they're waiting until E3, though, I don't understand. But nevertheless, especially considering it's going to be lost in the whole hubbub of E3. Hardly anyone's going to pay attention. A Sonic game, they get more promotion, honestly, out of E3 than in it. From what I've noticed, Sega gets a lot more attention when it's not E3. Yeah, they do get awards, but from what I could tell, everyone's paying more attention than Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Anyone that's got a conference, they tend to get all the attention. Otherwise, there's really not that much. Sega I don't think gets that much attention, except from the Sonic and Sega community. Sad to say, it's not as much as they used to, which sucks. But nevertheless, that's going to be E3 itself, noon to 6 p.m. Eastern on June 11th, 12th, and 13th. Then on June 14th, that's going to be the final day of the daily E3 coverage, and it's going to be 3 hours. It's going to be pretty much post E3, because E3 will close by that point. That's going to be the first day since the end of E3. That's going to be it's going to be pretty much the day after the storm, so to speak. I guess the second day after the storm. The first day after the quote-unquote day after the storm would be after the conferences, but the second day after the storm, quote-unquote day after the storm, would be the day after the E3 doors close, the expo doors close. And as I said, that'll be 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be interesting to see how things go. Whether they, whether things go absolutely, whether things go perfectly, not sure. But I can tell you this, I can tell you this right now. It's going to be a crazy, it's going to be a crazy day. It's conference day itself is going to be crazy. E3 itself will be crazy. Post E3 is when things start letting up. It's at that point where it's like there's no need to do this anymore. So on the 14th, things are going to be closed off. That's going to be the final day. Afterwards, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. Afterwards, that'll be it. And then on the 16th, 2 days later, will be the final bit of E3 coverage. This will be the post-E3 Sonic News Show special. I had a pre-E3 Sonic News Show special coming up on the 9th, but on the 16th, a week later, I'll be doing a post-E3 special, and that's going to be pretty much the exact same thing as the pre-E3 special, except instead of predicting things, we're going to be looking back at the predictions and seeing how well I did. Deciding who won E3, how well did each respective company do with their conferences and all that, and also most specifically see how Nintendo did with their different mindset with conferences this year. And of course, see how I'm also going to give an overview on all the Sonic and Sega news that took place this year. Any E3 news that came from any E3 Sonic and Sega news, I'll be doing a summary of during that. I'm going to be going through doing a review of everything. So the Sonic News Show, for the first time in the E3 coverage, will be embedded into the coverage itself. No longer is it's going to be the very first time that I'm going to be doing a Sonic News Show as part of the E3 coverage. So I hope you guys are ready, because this is going to be a crazy week coming up. I should note for you guys on YouTube, you will not be seeing any video of the usual videos during that week, because I'll be focusing too much on E3 to put up anything. Will I make those videos up? Probably not. That's, like I said, going to be the week of E3 coverage, so I don't want to overdo myself. But do expect, at the very least, Sonic News shows are going to be put up like normal. That's the only thing that will probably be normal for the YouTube channel. Will be, those two Sonic News shows will go up, but the rest of the coverage won't. So I can assure you right now, if there's going to be any E3 coverage, you're going to get all the lowdown on E3 during the Sonic News shows anyway. So even if you can't catch, conference day itself, even if you can't catch, all the other days of the E3 coverage, not only will the Sonic News shows will be put up on YouTube for your own heart's content, but it's going to pretty much be the lowdown on everything. I'm going to repeat what I said during the the coverages, because I'm probably going to have viewers that weren't watching E3 coverage itself before. So the rest of the E3 coverage will probably show up during the Sonic News show. So I will reiterate, if there's anything, if you really can't show up for conference day, your plan B will be to catch the Sonic News shows either live or when they'll be put up on YouTube, because I'm not going to be showing any trailers off. I'm not going to be playing any videos. It's just going to be me, and E3. It's just going to be talking. So, and some music more than likely. But if I have that, if I have the mood and capability to sing this thing, but I can tell you this right now. Expect only the Sonic News shows to be put up on YouTube. Do not expect anything else unless I somehow get a highlight when there's nothing being played, because that's the only exception, I think. Because otherwise, there's going to be a bunch of trailers and conferences and everything. That's all copyrighted stuff. I do not want that to be saved. It's only going to be a one-time thing. I'm only going to be playing it once, and only once, and that's when it's live, and then after that, it's gone. And it will never be seen again. So if you want to catch all this stuff, you better catch it when it's on, because I am not going to be doing this again. It's not going to be uploaded anywhere. It's not going to be saved on my computer, more than likely. The only exception is if I have a highlight that I want to put up on YouTube that doesn't have a video or something playing in the background. So with that in mind, I think I've covered everything. If there's any questions you guys have or whatever, feel free to ask me about those in the comments. But oh no, there's still more stuff to talk about. I forgot what will exactly be in the streams. I did give a general overview, but here's some more specifics on what the features will be. As I said, all the latest trailers, demos, interviews, and more, all the videos going around. It'll be the very first year of E3 coverage to be broadcasted through XSplit instead of Livestream Procaster. Reason why? I have more potential with the E3 coverage. I can actually goof around with the, a little drawing sketch thing that XSplit has. I can, indicate what's coming up next, who's streaming, all this. I can do things that I couldn't do before with Procaster. There's all that. Of course, as I said, there's going to be emphasis on the Sega and Sonic E3 news, so as soon as Sega and Sonic news comes out from E3, I will be talking about that. There will be live streaming of the conferences. As I said, I won't be saving those because of copyright, so I would only catch those live when it happens. And besides the conferences, all the media sites are going to be saving them themselves anyway, so that's that. there will be SSF Facecam because XSplit is compatible with the Facecam still. Procaster's glitching with the Facecam, but not with XSplit. XSplit's still able to pick up the Facecam, my webcam, and just fine. And not only is the Facecam, is it picking up the Facecam still through XSplit, but it's my webcam is now at a new angle. It's now under more direct lighting, and I say this to be more specific. In the room I'm in, there is a light that can light up the whole room. I'm almost directly under that light now. Instead of being, to the being a bit of a ways away from that light on the couch, halfway away from the light in the room, I'm now literally, I wouldn't say almost directly under the light, but like I'm closer to it than I think I was before. That's what I'm getting at. I'm closer to the light than I was before. So that means the lighting should be greater on the webcam, which means potentially, and not only that, I'm closer to the light too. Like the switch is right behind me, so I can easily turn it off and on and not have to get up anymore. So it'll be more convenient for me too. And not to mention, because I'm using XSplit and it can adjust the size of the webcam, you guys are going to be able to see me more clearly too. My webcam will be bigger on the screen. It'll be more visible. When will the webcam be used? It's probably going to start being used on day one. I don't think I'm going to take out the E3 coverage. I don't think the webcam's ever going to be off during the coverage itself. However, I would highly suggest, I can easily toggle the webcam on and off easily. And if I toggle it off, that just means I'm having it off for temporarily. I can just, click a button and it'll be right back on again, almost instantly. So it's not going to be that difficult to toggle it off and on and all this. It's going to be a lot more convenient, is what I'm getting at, and a lot more potential, professional, and all this next thing. But anyway, there's also going to be live audience interaction on Twitter and the stream chat. And where I'm getting at with this is that I'll be interacting with you guys, talking with you guys, asking you guys questions, on Twitter, and then also in the SP live stream. And finally, it's also a possibility, but I may even bring in Skype guests, guests on Skype to chat with. Depends on who you are, and if I already have you on Skype, you're qualified. I'm not gonna, go on and on about. It's still something that it may not even happen just yet, because I don't know how it'll be through XSplit at this time. I won't know for another week, and then after that I'll have a better idea as to how XSplit will work through Skype. Whatever, don't know yet. But with all that in mind, I hope you guys are ready, because it's gonna be crazy. Like I said, if you have any questions on all of this, feel free to ask me. If I completely forgot to cover something, mention something, I will bring it up. I will mention it later on in a follow-up video, or in a gameplay video in one of my Let's Plays or whatever. But for now, I hope you guys are ready. Sonic Paradox's E3 2013 coverage. This is the third year now. This is my third year covering E3 for Sonic Paradox. There's no other site in the Sonic community that does this. If you want E3 coverage unlike any other, SP is the site to go to. No one else covers E3 live like SP. So with that in mind, it'll begin Friday, June 7th, 2013 at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 10 o'clock p.m. UK time. That's also 2 p.m. Western, West Coast time. So for the West Coast of the US. But with that in mind, I will see you guys soon, next time. And also keep an eye out on another video talking about the, coverage for the May 21st Xbox, next generation Xbox stream, video thing. I will be going through that as well, covering that as well. But I'm not gonna promote that just yet, because I still need to sort out You know, I'm gonna wait until next week to figure out a time. So, for now, there you guys go. E3's almost here. Finally. I think we were all really wanting to get E3 because A, there's not really anything to look forward to for the most part this year. And B, I think we really do want to know what Sega's cooking up behind the scenes. And it seems to me like E3 is probably going to be Sega's, you know, coming out party for 2013. But we'll see. You know, anything could happen between now and then. But for now, I will see you guys soon. More than likely tomorrow. But for now, this is Stuff signing out. Sayonara, guys.